is Swetha. Welcome back to Version Upgrade, your friendly podcast about what's helped two South Asian women who've been friends for over 20 years navigate career and life in a land outside our home that we now call home.
Hi everyone, I am Sahitya, and yes, Shweta no cheppinattu, this podcast is a platform for women like us to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized. And for our listeners, we hope the tips you take from these conversations help you upgrade yourself. Just like our name, Version Upgrade. Shweta, ఏంటి ఆ టాపిక్ for today? చెప్పు.
టాపిక్లోకి జంప్ అయిపోయే ముందు I want to share something with our listeners. So, this is going to be our last episode for the season. And I'm so happy we pulled this off and checked off one of our goals for the year, only to make new goals next year. And just to be clear, ఇది జస్ట్ ఈ సీజన్ లో లాస్ట్ ఎపిసోడ్ మాత్రమే, మా పాడ్కాస్ట్ లో కాదు.
Yes, 100%.
We have retrospectives kada office lo to figure out what worked for us, what didn't work. Why don't we do this season's retrospective as this episode? And retrospective ante what we learned అని కాదు, but let's think about things we unlearn to help us grow. And this episode is about that, unlearning to make room for more things.
Because unlearning is really about habits you start and stop based on your experiences, kada. So, do you want to start with that? Maybe share a few moments or habits you won't repeat anymore, or things you would do differently ఇప్పుడు?
Yes, definitely. We will talk about those. But before that, tell me what you think about when you hear unlearn.
This is a very good question. And honestly, for me, unlearning is as important as learning. Because when you learn something, it's usually tied to a time and context where you learned it. నేను ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇస్తాను. See, culturally, I learned to not speak up. Growing up, I was the calm one, the shy one, and the one who didn't talk much. Kanya, I cannot carry that into my workplace because I am hired to communicate, to express, and to explain what makes sense and what doesn't. And most importantly, why. So, adi na perspective, it is important to unlearn things that don't serve you anymore based on the context you're in, the place you're working, what your life demands from you today. And more importantly, I am not saying you unlearn your core values. That's not what I mean when I say unlearning. There are things, especially cultural things, things that are infused in you during your childhood that may not make sense anymore in today's time and age. So unlearning, and that's how I think about it.
I love that. It's almost like repairing your compass, right? So, అప్పుడున్న landscape, ఇప్పుడున్న landscape different. So, we need something new to navigate this landscape. Maybe we inherited what worked for our parents growing up, and now we are rewiring to figure out what works for us. And at work, unlearning also creates room to learn new things. You can't add without making space, kada. Same analogy in personal life too. I think it protects relationships too. It changes your mindset. Unlearning is a huge mental skill, one we don't talk about enough. We always talk about learning new things, but unlearning is often what creates room for learning.
That reminds me, I read this book by Carol Dweck. It's called Growth Mindset. And no mindset అన్నప్పుడు నాకు సడన్ గా అది క్లిక్ అయింది. Because with a fixed mindset, you can't change and you can't update, you can't improve, and you get stuck on your plateau. Kani, in this book, it talks about this growth mindset concept where you're open to changing yourself, open to growth, open to new ideas, new ways of working, new cultures. So, నా దృష్టిలో moving from fixed to growth mindset is what we are calling unlearning and relearning ఇప్పుడు.
Exactly. And as poor reader as I am, right? That happens to be one book I read. And one part I remember is how, with a fixed mindset, problem solving also becomes narrow. Manaki, when you have a growth mindset, right, you challenge the status quo. Why should I solve it this way? What are the other ways? It actually starts early. Even in schooling, right? If I compare schooling here versus back home, I feel there's a huge difference. I see through when he goes to school, the things that he does is they don't tell him how to do it. They just tell him, okay, this is the problem and you use your creativity. So almost every student in that class solves it differently. And వాళ్ళకి ఆ growth mindset అక్కడి నుంచే inculcate అవుతుంది. Anyway, I don't want to get into this growth and fixed mindset. I really love that book and I can talk hours about it. So maybe we should table that for a different episode. Let's bring it back. Things we unlearned at work that genuinely helped us. Why don't you start, Satya? Give us some tidbits, what you learned, what you unlearned, and how it helped.
Sure. I'll start with something as simple as words. Basic things kada. There are catchwords, filler words that people use a lot, and నేను కూడా one of them కాబట్టి I realized I was repeating myself and weakening my own message when I was using these filler words. నాకు biggest examples of filler words were words like basically and I think. I used to insert basically before, after, in between, everywhere అన్నమాట. Probably because I was nervous, I was shy, or I was trying to overemphasize what I was saying. But it was unnecessary. Taking a course in public speaking made me aware of this. And I stopped doing that, especially in verbal communication, but also in writing. ఇంకోటి I think. I still struggle, తెలుసా ఇవాళ కూడా. But I'm trying to unlearn it because if I am saying it, obviously it's what I think. I don't need to announce it.
I like it how you said, if you're saying it, it means you think and you said it.
Exactly. See, ఇవి చాలా simple examples, but they change how I show up, especially after coming here. And ఇక్కడ నేను చూస్తాను కదా, I observe how I communicate compared to others. So I want to be at that standard.
It's nice. I have a similar story about words now that you brought that topic, right? For me, one thing my mentor made me aware of, she literally trained me out of it. I used to use the word just all the time. I just wanted to know. I am just curious. And she stopped me and said, why did you just want to know? Why didn't you want to know? She told me that by adding just, I was lowering the impact of my question. I was putting myself one step lower. Like my question wasn't important. Kada. So when you drop just, your sentence automatically sounds confident. It's such a tiny word, but you'll only feel the difference when you remove it. I'm not perfect. I've not completely eliminated it, but I deliberately stop myself. ఆలోచిస్తూ ఉంటాను బిఫోర్ ఐ సే ఓకే జస్ట్ వస్తుందంటే ఐ ట్రై టు రిట్రేస్ అండ్ remove that just from that conversation. So that's one thing I unlearned and I'm still in the process of unlearning.
So you just stopped using just.
I stopped using just, yes.
ఇంకా ఇంకా అలాంటి వర్డ్స్ ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా శ్వేత, ఆర్ వర్డ్స్ కాకపోయినా ఎనీ అదర్ హ్యాబిట్స్ దట్ యు అన్లర్న్డ్?
Yeah, one big thing for me was unlearning perfection. My mindset used to be like, ఇప్పుడు ఒక problem వచ్చిన వెంటనే I have to build the full solution. I have to propose and ask all the questions possible. I have to think of every possible scenario. And yes, future proofing solution is important, but sometimes the real win is delivering the most critical thing the business needs quickly and build confidence. Then you can build things over, right? That mindset shift was huge for me. You don't need a full perfect solution, it's progress over perfection. Keep making progress. One colleague of mine told me, and something that stuck to me was, sometimes getting your foot in the door is the most important thing, and the rest of the body can come later on. And when I think of that analogy, right, I felt like, oh no, first you have to make your presence. First, do something that proves yourself, and then you can build over things. So after I learned that, I realized, okay, when I go into these rooms, I try to ask, what is that MVP that you need? Bringing that MVP mindset really helped me.
అండ్ శ్వేత, ఇక్కడ అడుగుదాం అనుకున్నాను, వెన్ యూ సే ప్రోగ్రెస్ ఓవర్ పర్ఫెక్షన్, ఐ వాంట్ టు ఎంఫసైజ్ యు ఆర్ నాట్ సేయింగ్ డూ థింగ్స్ బ్యాడ్లీ, రైట్?
No, no, no. Definitely not. It's closer to the 80-20 rule, right? You figure out 80% of the most impactful part of the solution you're trying to build and build that in smaller units, deliver quickly so people can see the value you're bringing rather than waiting to ship the entire universe. Hence, it means coaching stakeholders. You can say, right, this is a great idea, but what's the smallest meaningful thing we can deliver sooner? Let's get a win and build from there. And there's absolutely not an excuse for sloppy work or crappy code. That's not the cue.
Yeah, I wanted to confirm because I don't want our listeners to think about it like that. But what you shared was really interesting. I want to know if there are any other examples in your career nunchi where you had to unlearn.
Oh my God, how could I forget this? This is a big one, okay? Culturally in India, we used the word grooming very casually. And ఇప్పుడు కూడా like if you Google grooming, it will be like mentoring or coaching అట్లానే ఉంటది కదా. Like you have to groom your juniors, you have to be groomed in that context. What does it mean? It means coaching. But anybody who's listening to this podcast, I want you all to search for this. What grooming means in the American workplace context. And this is again another shout out to my mentor, because if she hadn't corrected me, I would have ended up in an embarrassing situation for using that word. In the US context, the word has a very negative connotation. So I stopped using it and trained myself to say coaching or training instead.
You know what, Shweta? నేను ఇప్పుడే search చేశాను grooming meaning American work context in Google, and it literally says it refers to a pattern of manipulative behavior used to build trust and emotional connection with a target for later exploitation. I didn't know that. Today I learned this.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, man. But if I have to go back, right, to my experiences and reflect on what I unlearned, one thing stands out. As a product manager, when you present ideas or provide updates, చాలాసార్లు you get challenged or questioned. And I know to expect that. But sometimes the tone throws you off. Sometimes it's the phrasing. Sometimes it's just your gut feeling or intuition. Like, why are they asking this? And for someone like me, my work ethic is very strong. So ఒకప్పుడు I used to take it very personally. How are they questioning me? Don't they know how hard I work? Don't they know how much effort I put in? Kani, see, two things are true. One, they don't know everything. That is why they're asking. That is literally their job. And two, I cannot control what people think of my work or what they are trying to get out of their questioning. I can't control their tone, their phrasing, their context. But what I can control is how I answer and the mindset I bring. So that shift for me was this: when ideas get challenged, the best idea comes out. That friction creates clarity. It's like a diamond. There is friction, there is grinding, and ultimately it shines. Kada? So now when someone questions me, I perceive it as this questioning will lead to the best idea, which will result in the best outcome. Because that's what in my control. And ultimately, I want the best idea to come out because that is what is going to bring the most value to my company. That is what matters. So that is how I think today. Let the best ideas come through and let me answer to the best of my ability rather than trying to infer something.
It's such a good one. And you know, when you were telling this, I was thinking the defensive feeling, right? When someone challenges us by tone or questions, ఎందుకో నాకు అనిపిస్తుంది it's a mix of culture and gender too. Like I had that feeling in meetings. I'm presenting something, someone is counter questioning me, immediately my defensive switch flips on. And when I compare that to how some colleagues, maybe non-Indian male colleagues, handle in similar moments, they often have such composure. And I'm like, why am I not having that? Maybe it's that suppression we grew up with, or the pressure to prove ourselves, or not being open to alternatives in the moment, right? But either way, like you said, at the end of the day, it gets you to a better solution. It helps you find alternatives, and staying open helps you grow.
Yeah, and our defensive switch flips on and now judo. For me, even recognizing that you're getting defensive is a huge win in itself. It means you are in touch with your emotion and you're recognizing that. So that is also a win.
That's awesome. So, to wrap up, here are the takeaways from this episode. Reduce your filler words like basically. Be mindful of I think, because if you're saying it, it already is your perspective. Drop just, especially in important moments, because it lowers the impact of your question. Never ever use grooming in the American context. Use coaching or training. And remember, progress over perfection. Deliver the most meaningful slice first and then build. And don't get defensive when your ideas are questioned. Use it to sharpen the idea. And with that, since we are talking about unlearning, what did we unlearn about our podcast this season, Satya?
Yeah, before we talk about what we unlearned, first we should celebrate what we achieved. So we got over 100 followers on Instagram. We have over 200 subscribers on YouTube. we were a top 5 show on Spotify for over 55 fans. Okay.
Woot woot.
And our show was, of course, mostly streamed in the US and India, but I have seen Singapore and Canada as well, at least on Spotify. So we have broken new ground. And if you think about it, Shweta, this podcast, it was just an idea in our brains back in early October. And now we have nine, and this is our 10th episode out there. We have people listening. We've had people reach out. Like, that's the most important part. People from your workplace, random strangers have reached out and told us the episodes resonated. And that is very incredible. I'm so proud of what we've achieved.
Absolutely. That's such a huge achievement in my head. And honestly, it's one of the best things that happened to me this year. And I'm so grateful. And thank you for bringing in the perspective to celebrate first. మనం ఎప్పుడు ఏది చేయాలి ఎట్లా ఇంప్రూవ్ అవ్వాలనుకున్న చిన్న చిన్న సెలబ్రేషన్స్ ని మర్చిపోతుంటాం. So building on that, here's one thing we unlearned based on feedback. When we started, we assumed we'd just do audio podcast, which we did, and we are happy where we are. But a lot of people who reached out to us said you should go video. It gives more credibility. And that was real feedback, and we are taking it seriously because when people see real people, there's more motivation to connect and more trust in what's being said. Otherwise, ఎవరికి తెలుసు మనం నోట్బుక్ ఎల్ఎల్ఎం యూస్ చేసి ఆ వాయిసెస్ యూస్ చేస్తున్నామేమో. And we want to be more authentic. So next season, airing sometime in spring, we're going video.
Yeah, would very excited. And I hope people don't think we are notebook LLM voices. But but I'm so excited for us to go video and for people to interact with us more.
Cool. So we course corrected, we unlearned, we adjusted, we improved. And honestly, it's been an amazing experience sharing our thoughts. Thank you to everyone who took those 20-25 minutes to support us, to listen, to message us, and to give us valuable feedback. You know who you are, and we love you for it. Thank you so much. We hope you keep supporting us as we continue to grow this platform. And that's about time. We wish everyone happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yeah, happy holidays wherever you are in the world. We hope you get a good time off during this end of year season and happy new year as well. We'll see you next year.